Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. We're just going to let you all start coming in. We are running a couple of minutes late. We did have a little bit of a technical issue that we were dealing with, but everything looks like it's ready to go now. So while we wait, we'll just do a little bit of housekeeping and just let everyone know that this webinar is being recorded today. So you will be able to go back and watch it after the webinar is finished. We'll be sending it through with some details of resources that we talk about during today's webinar. And today's webinar, we will be looking at practice insights, which is part of D4Web. For today's presentation, we'll have Scott Pereira, who is the Centaur Head of Product and Innovation at Centaur. And we also have Neil Wells joining us from our training team, and he is our training specialist for today's session. I will remind you that if you do have any questions, just to put them in the chat and the Q&A, and we'll go through and answer them as best we can throughout the webinar. And we will also give you some ways of getting in touch with us at the end if you want to find out more about what you see here today. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Sean to kick off today's presentation about practice insights. Thank you so much and enjoy the webinar.
Thank you, Rebecca. Welcome, everybody. Today, we are going to talk about, as Rebecca mentioned, practice insights. I'll give you a bit of a background into why we designed practice insights in the first place and how it differs from your traditional business intelligence systems as well. And if you have any questions, let us know. We'll try and cover as many questions as we can. So I'm going to be looking at my screen onto my right. So I'm going to turn my video off so it doesn't look like I'm not looking at the audience. All right, practice insights. Practice insights is D4Web's native analytics module. So as part of your D4Web, it is included in every D4Web package, whether it's a standard premium or multi-sites, it is included. It has 7 dashboards and 55 KPIs, and it is operational analytics, and it is role-based and security controlled access. So what do I mean by all this? Operational analytics. So this was done with the practice staff in mind. So this is not for the business manager of the practice, so to speak. This is for your practice owners, practice managers, clinicians, admin staff to be able to run your practice efficiently by getting that operational insights all in one place. So we took into account, before we designed practice insights, we did a number of surveys to ask our existing D4 Windows users what analytics they would like to see in an analytics package and what they use mostly on a day-to-day basis. So we came up with practice insights, and as I mentioned before, they are role-based dashboards. So you will see practice manager type dashboards, clinician dashboards, admin dashboards. In essence, this is for anyone who likes to make that change from your traditional reporting to dashboards and wants to dip their toe in the world of analytics. So what is Practice Insight is not. It is not a business intelligence system. I'll talk about that in a little while. It is not for goal setting, not trend analysis, projection, customizations, automated email alerts. So this, in essence, this is not a business intelligence system. This is an operational analytics for the day-to-day running of the practice. So when Neil goes through some of the dashboards, you'll see that there are white space calculations. There are, at any given time, the snapshot of your practice, how many active, how many inactive, how many active patients with appointment, without appointments, how many treatment plans you've got. So this information is not for you to set the business strategy for the next 5 years, but your tactics for the next few months, next year, for you to be able to run your dental practice successfully. So if you were to look at this, I quite like this example. So I've been using it quite a bit. So Practice Insights is your operational analytics, that is your tactical level analytics. And business intelligence systems is your strategic. So to win the match, whereas Practice Insights is for you to win the point, so to speak. And what are the features in Practice Insights? We have security controlled access to dashboards. So you can really say, using your security actions, you can say who can access what dashboard. And even within the dashboard, you can say what data they will have access to. Will this provider be able to see other people's data, or will it be just their data? And will they have access to this at all? Will my receptionists have access to my management dashboards? So you can really control that using your super groups and also your security actions. And all your dashboards get updated overnight, with the exception of your white space chart. It'll make a little bit more sense when Neil talks about that overview dashboard with the white space chart. That updates every 30 minutes to tell you how much white space you've got in your appointment books. And on any chart, you can click into a chart element, and you can look at the underlying data, and you can export that to PDF, CSV, even an image. And the next thing I wanted to show you is, when you look at the analytics journey, there are quite a few steps in that journey. We all start by running practice management reports. We've done that for years and years. And then the next logical step in that process is analyzing data, not just getting reports, but analyzing data, looking at it, looking at trends and understanding it, and optimizing your workflows. And that's where Practice Insights helps you. If you were to take it a little bit further, business intelligence, such as our business intelligence package, Dental BI, which is not a part of this conversation today, they will help you to empower your business with data and find different ways to grow your practice, whether it is your patient base or the right kind of patients, your treatment mix, whatever that may be. So it is really important for us to clarify exactly where Practice Insights sits in the analytics landscape. And next, we'll have a live demo of Practice Insights by our training guru, and share my side of things.
Just while we wait for Neil, Sean, to share his screen, we just had a question. And I think you've touched on it already from John. What is the difference between patient practice analytics and business analytics for the regular D4W?
John, I'm assuming you're asking about the practice analytics module in D4W. I'll answer based on that. If not, please, ask the question again. So practice analytics was our first foray into the world of analytics. So with what we know now, looking at practice analytics, it was our first iteration into the world of analytics. We took the elements of practice analytics and we remolded everything from scratch. We got some responses from our existing practice analytics users about what they liked and didn't like about practice analytics, and we redesigned practice insights from scratch. So there is, if you are an e-support user, if you are a D4Web user, you'll have access to D4Web e-support. We have an article that really maps what we had in practice analytics and how it looks in practice insights, or whether it is still available.
That's great, Sean. What I'll do for everybody is include that article in the follow-up for this webinar so that you can have a look at the differences between those two items. But now that Neil's got his screen up, we'll pass over to him. Thanks, Neil.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So just start, as Sean mentioned, the insights can be accessed via security. So if we come into setup and security, this is where you can set up who can access insights and what areas. And it's all controlled by here. And this can determine who can access each different one. So to access insights, we come to management and we come down to insights. So the first page that it opens is what we call the overview. So this gives you a snapshot of the practice as it stands, and it gives you a little bit of information. So you can see the first one is active versus inactive patients. And essentially, this is active patient is a patient who has visited in the last 18 months. Now, as Sean mentioned, if you click on any of these dashboards, you get a list of patients in that list. And in the top right-hand corner is where we can export. So you can export all data or export selected rows. So you can actually select which ones. So then we have future appointments. So this tells you what percentage of patients had treatment done, but also have another appointment booked in the future. So this can be any appointment, but the patient has another appointment booked. The next one is recalls. Does the patient have a recall appointment booked? Which is usually another appointment made in 6 months' time for the next scan and clean. The difference between these two is determined in the appointment. So when you make the appointment, if you're making the appointment in the future, and you're making the appointment in 6 months' time, you would choose the recall set down here. So this is telling Insights that this patient has booked a recall appointment. So the next one is your debtors. So this is outstanding invoices. So this is telling you at the moment, you have $51,443 over 40 days outstanding, which is invoices that have a balance. And this is the one that Sean was referring to as white space. So this is telling you over the last 7 days, what percentage of your books are white space. So it shows you each day, and then you see an average for the whole week. And here you can see it's just telling you current workday, the next workday, and the next 7 days, 4.4% of a book is white space. Then you got active treatment plans, which is just basically treatment plans that are still current in the system. So we've got complete and incomplete. So obviously a complete treatment plan is one that's been created and all items have been moved over to treatment. So it gives you by the number of plans and also the value of those plans. So you can see here, we've got $338,419 worth of incomplete treatment plans. And this just tells you here the actual numbers. Now, because this is an overview, there's no filters. It's just a snapshot. The next dashboards we go into, however, we can start to filter. So you have options in terms of date range. So you can select a filter date range. You've got predefined filters, or you can set your own filter. You can choose which location. If you have more than one location, you can select here each location, all locations if you want to see both, or individual. And then we have providers, is where, again, you can select individual providers, or if you want to do this report for all providers. If you have a provider that leaves halfway through the period, you can say here to include inactive providers as well. So the daily net production. This is just giving you an idea of your net production throughout the process. Net production is invoices raised, less discounts and refunds. And again, if you click on each of these, you will get your list. Then we have hourly net production. So these two, we work out the daily and the hourly from the appointment book. Daily is counted as any day where there's an appointment. Hourly net production is calculated by hours which are appointments, and also any break that is set as work time. So when you create a break, you can select work time, yes or no. Is this break a productive time? And that will attribute to the hourly net production. Then we have net production per patient. So this gives you an idea of the total net production divided by the number of patients. So it's an average per patient. Then we have patients treated. So this is just showing you new versus existing patients. And a new patient is somebody who has had treatment done for the first time in the period selected. And the next chart is just showing you number of new patients each month. So again, I can click on there and get my list. So the next one is the appointments and utilization dashboard. Now, if you set the filter in the first dashboard, that filter will also flow over into this dashboard. So the chair utilization. This is basically telling you the percentage of your book that's used. And we have chair utilization and white space. So you can see here, this is the utilization and the white space. So it's showing you what percentage is white space versus used. The next one is lost revenue through white space. What this is doing is giving you an average of your net production and dividing that per hour, and then telling you that because you've had so many hours white space, this is how much extra revenue you could have potentially had if that white space was filled with appointments. Then we have average treatment time. So this is telling you, on average, how long a patient's in with the dentist. Now, this data is captured again from the appointment book. When the patient arrives in the practice, we would right-click on the appointment and we select Arrived. When they come into the surgery, we go Check In. When they leave the surgery and come back out to reception, we go Checked Out. Those three are used to determine these two. So the average treatment time is the average time between checked in and checked out. And wait time is between arrived and checked in. So it allows you to have a look at that and say, well, on average, we had patients wait 6.56 minutes. Not too bad. Next one is treatment plans and service mix. Now with this one, you can see here, it's showing us overall treatment plans by number. So we've got 153 completed treatment plans and 352 incomplete treatment plans. And then we have the value of the complete and incomplete treatment plans. Treatment plan acceptance. This is telling us the treatment plans created and what percentage were accepted. And we have treatment plan completion, which shows the percentage of treatment plans that have gone through to completion. Now, what these two look at is in treatment plan, we have what's called the treatment plan status. Sorry, my screen's decided to
maybe reload the page, Neil, or if not, if you want to keep going with other practice insights, dashboards.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so just while we wait for Neil to get his screen. If you have any questions, just be sure to add them into the Q&A and we can answer them now while we're waiting for anything you've seen so far, or if Neil, if you're ready to keep going, we can hand it back to you as well.
Yep, I apologize for that.
That's okay. It's the beauty of live webinars.
So essentially the treatment plan has a status, and that status can be none when you first create it, presented, accepted, completed, or rejected. So once a treatment plan has been assigned to an appointment or items have been moved to treatment, it's treated as accepted. And when all items have been moved from treatment plan over to treatment, it's marked as status completed. Then we can see here, similar to the overview dashboard, we have the number of treatment plans that are completed and incomplete and the value. The difference between this and the overview, though, is that this one can be per provider or per location if required. Now, the next ones are where you can actually assign items into what we call procedure classifications. So these are default classifications in the system, but you can actually create your own and rename these. So it breaks it down into different types of procedures. At the moment, this is set up where we have items use 0, which means it starts with 0, starts with 1, starts with 2, so on. And this is just showing you the number of items performed. And then here you can see the users as well. Okay, so this is the value, this is the number of items. So you could break these up into different types of procedures, root canals, crowns, anything you like. So then we move to practice administration. So again, some of these look like they are copied over from overview, but again, this is where you can filter it by provider or location. So again, we have existing patients and new patients. So this is the number of patients. And again, new patient is someone who's had treatment done for the first time within the period. New appointments means a new appointment has been created in this period. Then we have new appointments by appointment type. So this breaks it down between whether the appointment was a recall or a standard appointment. And again, that's picked up off the recalls drop-down list in the appointment. Rebooked appointments is just where a patient has had treatment done and booked another appointment. Appointment outcomes is kept versus cancelled. So cancelled can be failed to attend, unable to attend. And obviously appointments are attended. Of the cancellations, we have the cancellation reasons. So we have failed to attend, unable to attend, and unknown, which essentially means that it has been moved to the cancellation list but hasn't been given a reason. Payments by payee or by payer. This is basically telling you who has been paying the invoice. So typically you have patients and health funds. If you have any third parties like work cover, they would also appear in this graph. Payments by type pretty much breaks it up into payment method. So the bulk would most likely be FPOS e-payment and high caps, and then any other payment method that you take. Discounts to production is just basically telling you what percentage of your net production is discounts. And then on the day, payment on the day, which means the invoice was raised and the receipts were created on the same day. And that can be if the invoice was paid by health fund and gap payment. As long as they were both done on the same day as the invoice, it'll show here as being paid on the day. So the next two, we no longer have the filter for providers. So these are for, you might want to say, backroom management. So we have the recall analysis. So this is basically saying what percentage of your recalls, so the recalls sent, were booked. So this looks at a number of things. Number one, the patient was included in a recall batch, and this can be manual or automatically sent. And when the patient's made an appointment, the recall set is selected in the appointment. And this will then tell you that the patient received that recall and has made an appointment. And then we have the effectiveness, which gives you the percentage of each batch and the percentage of the effectiveness of patients who are booked from that batch. Then we have new versus lapsed patients. So a lapsed patient is a patient who last visited more than 18 months ago, so have not been seen in the last 18 months. And new patients are patients who have been seen for the first time in the last 18 months. Then we have new patient gain. Now, this looks at, number one, your lapsed patients for the period, and number two, your new patients. And it's basically telling you whether you increased your patients or decreased. So for example, you had 10 new patients, but 8 lapsed, your net patient gain was 2. Then we have the patient demographic. So this is showing you male versus female patients and age range. So this looks at a couple of things. Number one, the date of birth of the patient, and of course, the patient's gender. Then we have the referral analysis. So when you get a new patient come in, one of the questions you're likely going to ask them is, how did you find out about us? This will give you an idea of where new patients are finding you from. So it helps you basically to refine or do your advertising budget. And the last one is appointment and financial management. Now, again, some of these might sound like they're repeating, but this one, again, is for the entire location. So again, we have appointment cancellations. So this is not per provider. This is across the entire location. So debt movement is basically telling you whether your outstanding invoices are increasing, decreasing, or staying around about the same. So you're always going to expect that invoices raised are going to be paid in the next month for third parties, for example. So you'd expect that to go up and down like this. Payments to production. So this is telling you the payments, so the receipts created versus net production. So this takes into account discounts, for example. Gross versus net production. Gross production is all items entered into treatment, regardless if they've been invoiced or not. And as I mentioned before, net production is invoices raised, less discounts and refunds. And the last one is chair utilization. So again, this is across all books for the location. And what percentage of your book is being utilized by the chair. And again, this takes into account appointments and any slots that are work time. And that's basically the different dashboards in Insights.
Thanks, Neil. I really appreciate you going through that and showing everybody how Practice Insights works. So we have had a number of questions come through during the second half of that webinar. So I'll try and answer some of those, and I'll also pass them on to Sean as well to answer. So I guess one of the biggest questions that we've had come through during that is Practice Insights available to people who don't who use Dental for Windows? So at the moment, Practice Insights is only available to those who use Dental for Web, and it is available to everybody as part of their subscription fee for Dental for Web. So there's no additional costs involved, and it is available for you on the current build that is available for Dental for Web. So I just want to make sure, Sean, can everybody just go in and actually access Practice Insights for their practice if they are using Dental for Web currently?
Yes, it is automatically enabled when you first set up Dental for Web. And there may be some differences with security settings. You may not see some clinicians' data. There is an eSupport article. I'm hoping everyone here uses eSupport. There is an eSupport article on how to configure your security and supergroups to be able to give the right people the right access. If all that fails, by all means, please contact our support desk, and our team will get that set up for you pretty quickly. So in essence, if you're on D4Web, you got Practice Insights.
Yeah, so Chris, I can see that you've asked a question about how you're a practice owner and you want to be able to see the other practitioners on Insights. What I'll do is I'll follow up this webinar with the recording as well as the link to how you can set up that security in Dental for Web so that you can see those reports as well. So I'll send that through to everybody so that if you are using Dental for Web and you want to be able to access the reports, you can set that up. And as Sean said, if you have any difficulty, you can call our support team. Jim, just to let you know, yes, the webinar is being recorded and it is going to be sent out so that you can share it with your team as well. So that's not a problem. And Chris asked another question. I don't know if this will be Sean or Neil, but with rebooking, how far into the future can the appointment be booked, and does it still count in the reports that are?
Okay, it can be any time in the future. What it looks at, your recall effectiveness, I'll just start there. For your recall effectiveness, it looks at all the recalls sent in a particular period, and out of those patients who got a recall sent out to them in that period, how many of them booked in that period as well. So then we talk about the actual rebook section. So that is the recall effectiveness booking section. When we look at the recall rebooks, we look at any appointment made on the day of their treatment. It can be an appointment for 6 months time or for next week. It just looks to see, did the patient come in today and have treatment? If so, did they make another appointment today? So then it's counted as D4, sorry, then it's counted as a rebook. Chris, does that answer your question? Or would you like any more clarification on that?
Yeah, so that answers Chris's question. Thanks, Sean.
Perfect. Janice has a question about not being able to see the management section. That means, Janice, the security section that Neil was showing before, your insights is not ticked. So if if you can't get into the security section, give our team a call and they'll get that ticked and enabled for you straight away.
Thanks, Sean. Okay, so if you have any other questions, feel free to type them in. I have just launched a quick poll for anybody who would like to hear from a member of our team and they would like to find out more about D4Web and Practice Insights. Just answer yes or no in that poll and we'll get somebody from our team to get in touch with you.
Yeah, there was another
Sean,
question.
did you just see that come up, Sean?
Yes, I'm just gonna have a quick look. Can't see, just in there with the for 12 months. I see. Okay, so it would still count regardless of when the appointment was booked for, and it'll still count as a rebook. I had a question for this group. How many here? Just type in 1 in the chat if you are already using D4Web. We got 1. Okay, we got Chris using D4Web, Janice using, Janine using D4Web. Anyone else? Is there anyone here using Dental for Windows and considering going to D4Web? Just type in a 2 so we know who you are as well. Tracy is thinking, John is thinking of, yeah. Jazz is thinking, Susan. Great. One final question. Out of our D4Web users, have you started using, I mean, before today, did you know about Insights or have you used Insights? Just type a 3 if you are already using Insights. Okay, it looks like no one's great. So Tracy didn't know. So we want to make sure that every one of our Dental4Web users really make use of, make use of this analytics platform. So we'll be running a regular webinars and even articles and all that. And if you, once you get this recording, if you can respond to Rebecca and let us know what sort of areas you would like us to cover, if there was something that you thought, you know what, I'd like to know more about it. I'd like to see how my Dental4Web should be set up so I can get the maximum out of my Practice Insights.
Yeah, Sean. So you might see that there's two other questions. Jim and Michael in particular are asking about, will Practice Insights be available for Windows? Or is it only D4Web?
Jim and Michael, yes. D4Web, Michael, when it comes to the analytics side of things, we used a completely different backend to do practice insights. So in the near future, I can't see that being available in D4W because we are using essentially a browser to deliver practice insights. So the short answer is no, it won't be available to D4W non-web users. Yeah, so that may even be an incentive to change to D4Web. And I think John had a question about the stability of D4Web. Yes, we had quite a few teething problems, but they all have been ironed out, and we are receiving quite remarkable feedback and testimonials from our happy users now that the system is stable and we ironed out all the issues. And I know some people here that used D4Web have already responded to our voice of the customer survey. And if you're using D4Web and haven't done our survey, please please complete that, because we'd like to hear from you and make the changes or enhancements to the application in a way that is most useful for you.
Perfect. All right, guys, I think that's it for the questions. We haven't had any more come through. So I do want to say thank you to Sean and Neil for today's session. I hope everybody has found it useful. The webinar recording will be available tomorrow, and I will add in any of those links that were talked about, especially around support and how to turn on security and access Practice Insights and compare it to the older
Practice analytics. And a special thank you to all of you who attended. I know you gave up your lunch hour. I hope you got something to eat still. If you have any questions, please let us know. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Yeah, perfect. All right. So thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.